Hello guys, my name is Shahrukh. In this video, we will continue with the topic of Glbp. So in the last video, we have seen the load balancing in Glbp. We have seen what are the different types of load balancing we have in Glbp. Also, I have shown you one case where you will see that, as I said you, that by default, preemption is enabled for the AVF. So I have shown you one case that where it applies. So now we will continue with the topic of Glbp. So today we will discuss about the states in Glbp. What are the different states in Glbp? We have seen the states in HSRP, we have seen in VRRP. Now we will see the states in Glbp. Okay. See, in Glbp, as I said you, we have total two components. We have total two components. One is AVG and the another is AVF. You know this, what is the role of AVG, and you also know what is the role of AVF. So in Glbp, basically we have total two components. Now in Glbp, we have different kind of states for AVG and different kind of states for AVF. That means for AVG, the states are different, and for AVF, the states are different. We will see what are the states for AVG, what are the states for AVF, but I just want to say you that for AVG the states are different and for AVF the states are different. First we will start with the AVG. See, first we will start with AVG. Over here I am writing AVG and over here I am writing AVF. For AVG we have total 6 states. We have total 6 states. And what are that states? First is disabled, second is init, third is listen, fourth is speak, fifth is standby, and the last one is active. These are the states for AVG. And for AVF we have 4 states. For AVF we are having 4 states. First is disabled, second is init, third is listen, and the last one is active. So these are the different states for AVG, and these are the different states for AVF. Now we will see one by one. First we will start with AVG. In AVG there are 6 states. The first one is disabled. First is disabled. See, disabled state means my router don't know what virtual IP should I use. If my router don't know what virtual IP, I'm writing VIP. VIP stands for virtual IP. What virtual IP should I use? What virtual IP should I use? So it will stay in the disabled states. Now see, this is my router. Let's say this is my interface, fast Ethernet 0/0. How I will configure Glbp on this interface? I will go on interface fast Ethernet 0/0. I will write Glbp 1, then IP. What is the virtual IP? Let's say it is 10.0.0.10. So now my router know what the virtual IP should I use. But let's say if I don't specify the IP address, but that what virtual IP, if I don't specify the IP address, that what virtual IP should I use? So my router will stay in the disabled state. Why? Because my router don't know what virtual IP should he use for the Glbp group. Apart from that, one more example I will say you. See, on this interface I have not given the command glbp1 IP 10.10. I have not specified the IP address. I have just gone under this interface and I have put some of the configuration of glbp. Let's say I have enabled preemption. So glbp1 preempt, or let's say I have given command glbp1 priority. Let's say the priority I have made 200. So on this interface there are some configuration of glbp, but on this interface there is no virtual IP mentioned. So if my router don't know what virtual IP should I use, so my router will stay in the disabled state. So disabled state means my router don't know what virtual IP should he use for the glbp group. Okay. Now the next state is init state. Next state is init state. Init state means, let's say my interface is down. My interface is down. Or let's say there is no IP address configured. I'm not talking about the virtual IP of glbp, because on each of the interface of the router you will see the IP address we have configured. So let's say on the interface fast ethernet 0/0 there is no IP address configured. So what will happen? My device will stay in the init state. That means there is some problem with my interface. Either my interface is down or there is no IP address configured, because if my interface is a layer 3 interface and if there is no IP address configured, then that interface won't be functional. Why? Because if I am not having any of the IP address on my interface, so that interface cannot send and receive any of the packet. That means my interface is not in a function. So my router will stay in the init state. Now, the next state is listen state. In listen state, what will happen? My router will send the hello messages. My router will send the hello messages. Also, my router will listen for the hello messages from Active Avg as well as standby Avg. In this state, my router is sending its hello messages. Also, my router is listening for the hello messages from the Active Avg as well as from the standby Avg. And one more thing is going to happen in this state. I will talk about that afterwards. So for listen state, what does it mean? That my router will start sending its hello messages and my router will listen for the hello messages from the Active Avg as well as from the standby Avg. Now the next state is speak state. See, my router is listening for the messages from the Active Avg as well as from the standby Avg. If my router has identified that he should become now the Active Avg or he should become now the standby Avg, then only my router will go in the speak state. Let's say if this is my router R1. R1 was in the listen state. Now R1 knows that he has to become the Active Avg, or R1 knows that he has to become the standby Avg. Then only R1 will go from listen state to speak state. If my router knows that he cannot become the Active Avg or he cannot become the standby Avg, then this router will stuck in the listen state only. So if my router knows that he can become the Active Avg or he can become the standby Avg, so my router will go in the speak state. And in the speak state also, my router will send the hello messages. Now, after that, the next state is standby state. It means if my router has went from the listen state to speak state, so my routers know now that he will become either the standby AVG or he will become the active AVG. If this router knows that he will become the standby AVG, then he will move into the standby state. And in standby state, what will happen? This router will send its hello messages, and this router will listen from the hello messages from the active AVG. So this router will send its own hello messages, and this router will also listen for the hello messages from the active AVG. That if in the future the active AVG is down, so my this standby router is able to move into the active state, because if my active AVG is down, so my standby AVG will now become the active AVG. So my this router is ready that if he stop listening for the messages from the active AVG, so he will move his state from the standby to active. Now the last state is active state. Now my router was in the listen state. He knows that my router has identified that he will become either the standby AVG or he will become either the active AVG. So he has went from the listen state to the speak state. Now my router knows that he will become the active AVG. So he will move from the speak state to the active state. And if my router knows that he will become the standby AVG, so he will go from speak to standby. And if my router knows that he will become the active AVG, so he will go from the speak to active. And in these messages, my router will send its hello messages. And if a router becomes the active AVG, for what is the role of that router? My router will provide the virtual MAC address to all the AVF. Apart from that, whenever any PC will generate an ARP request, so it is the responsibility of the active AVG to provide the MAC to reply to that ARP request with an ARP response message. So it is all the responsibilities of the active AVG, and that we have seen. So these are the different states in GLBP for the AVG role. First is disabled, then init, then listen, then speak, then standby, then active. Disable means my device don't know what virtual IP should I use. Init means there is some issue with my interface. Either my interface is down or there is no IP address configured. That means there is some kind of issue with my interface. My interface is not functioning properly. The next state is listen state. In this state, my router will send the hello messages. Also, my router will listen for the hello messages from the active AVG as well as standby AVG. And if my router has identified that he will become either the active AVG or standby AVG, so he will go from listen to speak. And in speak also, it will send its own hello messages. And finally, if this router will become the standby AVG, so he will go from speak to standby. Or if this router will become the active AVG, so he will go from speak to active. And in active state, what is the role of that active AVG? That he will provide the virtual MAC address to all the AVF. Also, whenever any PC will generate an ARP request, so my active AVG is responsible to reply to that ARP request. So these are the different states in GLBP for the AVG. Now we will see these states in the debug. See, currently there is no GLBP configured. See, show run interface fast Ethernet 0/0. Now there is no GLBP configured. Now let's see what I will do. First, I will enable debug GLBP packets, debug GLBP events. Okay. Now see, I will go on this interface fast Ethernet 0/0. Now I will not specify any of the virtual IP address to this interface. That means R1 don't know what virtual IP should I use. What I will do, I will just go under this interface and I will enable function. That means there are some kind of configuration of the GLBP present on my interface, but there is no virtual IP address. So see, this router will stay in the disabled state. Why? Because my router knows now. My router don't know what virtual IP should he use for the GLBP group number 1. So if you will see show GLBP, so over here the state is disabled. That means my router don't know what virtual IP should he use. As you can see, virtual IP address is unknown because my router don't know what virtual IP should he use because I have not specified any of the virtual IP address. So you have seen now the first state in GLBP. See, I will do one more thing. Now I will remove this command. That means now there is no configuration of GLBP. If I do show GLBP, nothing is there because now no GLBP is running. Now I will go on this interface and I will enable GLBP, but I will not specify any of the virtual IP address. See, now my router don't know what virtual IP should he use. So my router will stay in the disabled state only. See, show GLBP, the state is disabled because my router don't know what virtual IP should he use. So now you have seen the first states in GLBP, that when you will see the disabled state in GLBP. Now I have removed this command GLBP1. Now the next state is init state. Now see, I will go on this interface and I will, let's say my interface is down. My interface is shut down and I will enable GLBP. I will also specify the virtual IP address. I will also specify the virtual IP address so that my router moves from one state to another. Because if I don't specify the virtual IP address, so my router will stuck in the disabled state only. So I will specify the virtual IP address. But my this router will stuck in the init state. See, earlier my router was in the disabled state. Then my router knows that what virtual IP should he use. What is the GLBP IP address? So he moved from the disabled state to the init state. But now my interface is down because my interface is not functioning. So my this, so if you will do show GLBP, so you will see that my router is stuck in the init state. Why? Because there is problem with my interface. See, if I do show GLBP, so my state is init, and what is the reason? My interface is down. Now let's say I will go on this interface. First, I will remove this configuration of GLBP so that there is no configuration, and I will make this interface no shut also. Right now my interface is up. There is no configuration of GLBP. Sure, an interface pass is at 0 space. What is the IP address of this interface? It is 10.0.0.1. Now what I will do? I will remove the IP address from here. No IP address. Now my interface is up, but there is no IP address configured. Now what I will do? I will enable GLBP. I will also specify the virtual IP address. Still now you will see that my router will stuck in the init state. See, my router has moved from the disabled state to init state. Why? Because my router know what virtual IP he should use, but there is some issue with my interface. So my router is stuck in the init state only. See, my router is stuck in the init state. Now, if you will do show GLBP, so you will see the state is init. My interface IP not configured because there is no IP address on my interface. So let's say if there is some issue with your interface, so you, if there is some issue with your physical interface, because in our case there is issue with our fast Ethernet 0/0, either the interface is down or there is no IP address configured. So you have seen that the state of the GLBP will be stuck in the init state. Now what I will do, I will remove the configuration of GLBP and I will configure the IP address. My IP address was 10.0.0.1.255.255.0. If I do show run interface fast Ethernet 0/0, so now there is no configuration of GLBP and also there is IP address configured. Now you have seen the first two states in GLBP, and what is the disabled state, when you will see the disabled state and when you will see the init state. Now next come is the listen state. Now see, now what I will do, I will enable GLBP and I will leave it. Let's wait for a couple of seconds. Now my R1 will come in the active state. Why? Because I have only configured GLBP on the R1 router. Let's wait. See what will happen in the listen set. As I said you, my router will send the hello messages. Also it will listen for the hello messages. And if my router knows that he will become either the active AVG or he will become either the standby AVG, so he will move his state from the listen to speak. And after speak, if this router will become standby AVG, so he will go from speak to standby. And if this router should become the active AVG, so he will go from speak to active. Now let's see. Oh, I need to stop the debug and all. Now see, the first state was disabled state because earlier my router don't know what virtual IP he should use. Then once my router has identified what virtual IP he should use, so he moved his state from the disabled state to the init state. And in the init state, my router has also determined that everything is fine with my interface. My interface is up. So now he can move his state from the init to the next state, that is listen state. So my router has moved his state from the init state to the listen state. And in the listen state, you will see my router is start sending the hello messages. If you will see, this is the hello messages. Out means my router is sending this message. In means my router will is receiving the message. So you are seeing over here out, that means my router is sending the hello messages. In the hello messages, this hello messages is for VG. VG stands for virtual gateway. VF stands for virtual forwarder. So this router is sending the hello messages for the virtual gateway, that is for the AVG. And what is the current state of this router? The state is listen. So he's also sharing the state in the hello message, that my state is listen. After the listen state, my router now knows that there is no other device running with Glbp, because this router is not receiving any of the hello messages. So my router has determined that this he will become the active AVG. So once my router has determined that he will become the active AVG, so he move his state first from the listen state to the speak state. In the speak state also, this router is sending the hello messages, and then after finally this router has moved its state from speak to active, because this router knows that he is the only router running with Glbp, so he will become the active AVG. So these are the states in Glbp. The first you have seen the listen, then the init, then first is disabled, then init, then listen, then speak, because my router knows he will become the active AVG. So this router has went from listen to speak, and after speak my router knows that he will become the active AVG. So this router went from speak to active. What are these? Just forgot about this. These are the information of AVF. First we are seeing the information of AVG. Now I will go on R2 and I will also enable Glbp on R2. First I will enable the debug Glbp events, debug Glbp packets. Now see, I will go on this fast Ethernet 0/0, Glbp1 IP address 10.0.0.10. Just wait now. Okay, now it's fine. I've stopped the debug. Now see, first my router was in the disabled state. Now when my router knows that what the virtual IP he should use, so he has moved his state from the disabled state to the init state. Okay. After that, this router knows that his interface is up, everything is fine with the interface. So now this router can move its state from the init state to the listen state. See, ignore all this information. This is information is of the AVF. So just ignore that. We are just seeing the information of the AVG. So once my router has identified that there is no issue with the interface, so he has moved his state from the init state to the listen state. In the listen state, my router is sending the hello messages. See, the hello message is going out for the AVG. What is the state? My state is listen. And this is the hello message of inbound. That means my router is receiving the hello message. Why? Because R1 is sending the hello message. So just ignore this. We will focus only of R2. That now my R2 is sending the hello messages in the listen state, and my R2 has determined that he will become the standby AVG, because R2 knows there is only one router running with Glbp, and that is R1. And because on my side preemption is disabled, so I cannot preempt the active router, because R1 is already the active AVG, so I cannot preempt the active AVG. So this router knows that I will become the standby AVG. So this router once identified that he will become the standby AVG, so he has moved its state from the listen state to speak state. See over here, you will see from the listen state to speak state. Why? Because this router knows that he will become the standby AVG, and after in the speak state he will finally go in the standby state. See over here, if you will see, this router has moved its state from the speak state to standby state, and this router will stay in the standby state only. This router cannot become the active AVG. Why? Because R1 is already active, and by default preemption is disabled. See, all this information is of AVF. So just ignore this. See, just concentrate the output where you are seeing only 1. If you are seeing out in the output 1.2, 1.3, 1.4, 1.4, 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, 1.4, so just ignore it for now. We will just focus on the number where you will see the 1. And what is this 1? It is my group number. We will just see this output because this output is of the AVG, and this 1.1, 1.2, or in the future you will see 1.3 or 1.4, so that output will be of AVF. So see, R2 is my the standby AVG. Now what I will do, I will make sure that R2 should become my standby AVG. So I will increase the priority on this router. GLBP1 priority, let's say I will make 105. Now I will go on R3 and I will enable GLBP on R3. Interface first, I will enable the debug GLBP packets, debug GLBP events. Now I will enable GLBP on R3. See, R1 is the active AVG, R2 is the standby AVG, and R3 cannot become the active AVG. Why? Because by default permission is disabled. So R3 cannot become the active AVG. Also, R3 cannot become the standby AVG. Why? Because R2 is having priority 105 and R3 is having priority 100. So R3 cannot become the standby AVG. So if my router knows that he cannot become the active AVG or he cannot become the standby AVG, so that router will stay in the listen state only. So you will see now this router will not go from listen state to speak state. Why? Because this router has identified that he will not become the active AVG nor the standby AVG. GLBP1 IP 10.0.0.10. Let's wait for a couple of seconds. You will see a lot of output on R3 because now we are having total 3 forwarders, R1, R2, R3. Okay, finally I will now stop the debug. The debug is off. Now see, first just focus on this number 1. Don't focus on 1.1, 1.2, 1.3. Just focus on this 1. Now see, my router was earlier in the disabled state. Once my router has identified what is the virtual IP he should use, so my router has went from the disabled state to the init state. Okay, and in init state there is no issue with my interface and all. So my router will move from init state to the listen state. See, there is no issue with my interface. So my router has moved its state from the init state to listen state. Just focus on this number 1. Don't see 1.1, 1.2 because these are the information of AVF. Now, once my router has identified that he cannot become the active AVG and he cannot become the standby AVG, so my router will stay in the listen state only. Now, if you will see, there will be no state of speak because on R1 and R2, they have moved from the listen to speak, but on R3, you will see no speak state. See, there is no speak state. Why? Because my router will stuck in the listen state only because this router now cannot become the active AVG nor the standby AVG. Similarly, if I go on R4 and if I configure GLBP, so this I will show you. First, I will enable debug GLBP packets, debug GLBP events. Now, if I go on this interface and I will enable GLBP, this router will also stuck in the listen state only. If I go on R3 and I will do show GLBP, so this router is in the listen state. Who is the active? R1. Who is the standby? R2. This router is stuck in the listen state. Now just hold on R4, you will see a lot of output. Why? Because now we are having 4 forwarder. See, but this router was earlier in the disabled state. Now this router know what virtual IP he should use, so he has moved its state from the disabled to init. And there was no issue with my interface, so my this router has moved its state from the init state to the listen state. And now my this router is stuck in the listen state. Why? Because this router knows he cannot become the active AVG nor he cannot become the standby AVG. So this router is stuck in the listen state only. If you will see, my router is sending the hello messages. In the hello messages, what is the state he is advertising? That I am in the listen state. Now if you will scroll down, so there will be no speak state, no active state, no standby state. This active is for AVF, it's not for AVG, because here you are seeing 1.4. Okay, that's all I need to show you, that these are the different states for the AVG. There are 6 states: disable, init, listen, speak, standby, active. And now I have shown you what are the difference between all these states, and I have also shown you in the debug output that how my router is transiting, it's moving from one state to the other state. Now you know what are the difference between all of these states. See, one more thing I will show you. See, for that I will remove Glbp from all the routers from now. On R3 and R4 I have removed the Glbp config. On R2 I will remove the priority as well as the IP address. I will go on R1 and I will enable this Glbp. Now if I do show Glbp, so there is no configuration of Glbp. Now see, if I go on R1 and if I do Glbp1 IP, I am not specifying the virtual IP address. R1 don't know what virtual IP he should use. So in which state this R1 will stuck? The R1 will stuck in the disabled state. Why? Because R1 don't know what virtual IP he should use. If you will see show Glbp, so my router is stuck in the disabled state because R1 is having no idea that what virtual IP should I use. See, now I will specify the virtual IP address. Glbp1 IP 10.10. So now this router will go from disable to init, and from init to listen, then listen to speak, and then finally it will go in the active state. Why? Because R1 is the only router running with Glbp. So you will see R1 will come in the active state. Show Glbp who is the active router. Active router is R1, because now R1 knows what the virtual IP he should use, and also there is no issue with my interface, and this router has also identified that there is no other router running with Glbp. I am the only router, so I will move my state to the active state. So R1 now is in the active state. Now see, I will go on R2, but before that I will enable debug Glbp packets, debug Glbp events. Now see, I will go on this interface. On R2, I will not specify the virtual IP address. I will just press enter. I will go on R1. Let's wait. So what should happen? Because I have not specified the virtual IP address. So that means R2, if you are thinking that R2 will stuck in the disabled state because I have not specified the virtual IP address, if you are thinking like that, then it won't happen like that. My R2 will become now the standby AVG. See, I will show you the output of R1. On R1, you will see now who is the standby. Standby is 10.0.0.2. Just wait, see. R1, you are seeing the output of R1, and R1 is saying that who is the standby router? It is R2. So how R2 is becoming the standby router? How R2 has moved its state from the listen to init? Because I have not specified the virtual IP address. So see what is happening. My router was in the disabled state. See, once I enable Glbp on this interface, that is fast Ethernet 0/0, R2 has received one hello message of Glbp. From which router? From the active router. And in this message, what virtual IP he is using? The virtual IP he is using is 10.0.0.10. So my this router, that is R2 router, has learned the virtual IP address. Even though I have not configured the virtual IP address on R2, but R2 has learned the virtual IP address from the hello message which R1 is sending. That's why this R2 has moved its state from disable to init, then from init to now from init he will go to listen, then from listen to speak, then speak to finally standby. So why this router has changed its state from disable to init even though I have not configured the virtual IP address? Because this router has learned the virtual IP address from the hello message. See, if I do show glbp, so you will see this router has learned the virtual IP address. On R1 you will not see like this. Why? Because R1 has not learned the virtual IP address, but R2 has learned the virtual IP address. But earlier when I'm just configuring the when I'm just configuring the R1 router, so that router was stuck in the disabled state only. Earlier when I configured Glbp on R1 without specifying the virtual IP address, so that R1 router was stuck in the disabled state only. Why? Because R1 was at that time not receiving any of the hello message from any of the router. So R1 has not learned the virtual IP address. So he was stuck in the disabled state. But now R2 has learned the virtual IP address from the hello message which R1 is sending. So now R2 will use this hello message, not use this virtual IP for that group number 1, because the group number is same on both the devices. So now you have seen the different states of GLBP. What is the difference between disabled? What is the difference between init, then listen, then speak, then standby, then active? So as I said you, there are total 6 states in GLBP for the AVG role. Now we will see the state for the AVF role. Just give me 2 minutes. Okay. So now we will see the states for the AVF. Now see, for AVF we are having total 4 states, that is disabled, init, listen and active. Just wait for a second. Okay. So now we are seeing the state for the AVF. Now see, the first state is the disabled state. First state is the disabled state. In a disabled state means my router don't know what virtual MAC address he should use. What virtual MAC address he should use. This information my router don't know. For AVG in the disabled state, my router don't know what virtual IP he should use. For the AVF for the disabled state, my router don't know what virtual MAC address he should use. Over there the virtual IP and over here the virtual MAC address. Now the next state is the init state. Init state again means the same. If there is some issue with my interface, either my interface is down, so you will see the state will be, this router will stuck in the init state for the AVF. Let's say my interface is down, or let's say there are some parameters missing. Let's say the example is, if I give you the example, let's say timers. There are timers missing for the AVF because the information is my router knows what the virtual MAC address he should use, but my router don't know the complete information of the AVF. There are some parameters missing. So in that case also my router will stuck in the init state. Then the listen state, that means my router is listening for the hello message, listening for the hello message from the other AVF. Because if any of the AVF goes down, so any of the router then has to take the responsibility of that AVF which is down. And finally, last state is the active state. Active state, my router will send the hello message, and this router is in the active state for forwarding the traffic, because now this router will be in the active state for the AVF. That means we can forward, that means that router can now forward the traffic to that ISP, because that router, let's say, is connected to the ISP, and now that router is the AVF router, and it is in the active state for that particular AVF. That means my traffic will now transit from that router. So I will send the traffic to that router, and that router will then forward my traffic to that ISP which is he connected when he will come in the active state. So these are the four states in Glbp for the AVF role. The first is disabled. That means my router don't know what virtual MAC address it should use. The next state is init state. Init state is like my interface is down or there are some parameters missing for the AVF. So in that case also my router will stay in the init state. The next state is the listen state. In this listen state, my router is listening for the hello message from the other AVF. That if in the future the other AVF goes down, so this router will take the responsibility of that AVF. But we know which router will take it. The router which is having higher IP address will take the responsibility. And then finally, the last stage is the active state. That means this router is now active to forward the traffic. This router can take the traffic from the users and will forward the traffic to that particular ISP. In our case, all the routers are connected. In our case, if you will see my topology, my all the 5 gateways are connected to this ISP. That means if my R1 is active, so he is ready to forward the traffic to ISP. So these are the states of GLBP for the AVF role. Now we will see. Before that, I will remove GLBP on R3. There is no GLBP on R4. Also, there is no GLBP. From R2, I will remove the GLBP. The other thing left. Show run interface fast Ethernet 0/0. No configuration of GLBP now. No GLBP. Show GLBP. There is no configuration of GLBP. I will enable GLBP. I will first enable debug GLBP packets, debug GLBP events. Now I will enable GLBP on R1. There are no other devices running with GLBP, so R1 will be my active AVG. Let's wait for some couple of seconds. I will stop the debug. See, if you will see first the information of only AVG, see, we are just focusing on the number 1. So earlier my router was in the disabled state when he know what virtual IP he should use. So he has moved its state from the disabled to init. And now this router knows there is no issue with my interface. So he can move its state from the init to the listen state. So he has moved its state from the init to the listen. And in this listen state, my router is sending the hello messages. And my router has identified that there is no other router running with GLBP. I am the only router. So I will now become the active AVG. So this router has changed his state from listen to speak, and then finally this router went from speak to active. So this was the information of AVG behavior which we have seen earlier also. Now see where it is. Yeah. Now see this R1 router has become the active AVG. Now, what is the role of the active AVG? First, to assign the virtual IP, to assign the virtual MAC address to all the AVF. Now, this router knows R1 that I am the AVG. That means it is now my responsibility to provide the MAC address. And also now I will become the AVF. So this router is now the first AVF, because now there is no other router running with GLBP. So this is only router now which is active AVG, and this is only the router which will be our first forwarder. So you are seeing the keyword as .1. If the information was of second forwarder, so you will see the keyword as .2. If the information is of third, so you will see .3. If the information is of fourth, So the information, so you will see .4, but over here you are seeing .1. That means this information is of the first forwarder. So see, earlier the router was in the disabled state for the first forwarder, because at that time this router don't know what virtual MAC address he should use. And then once my routers had identified that what virtual MAC address he should use, because he has assigned the virtual MAC address to itself, because he is the only active AVG router. So his responsibility is to provide the virtual MAC address. So when this router knows what virtual MAC address he should use, so he has changed his state from the disabled to the listen. Over here you are not seeing the state of init. I will show you why. So he has changed his state from the disabled to the listen, and after that finally this router knows that he is the router who will become the active AVF. So this router has changed the state from listen to active. So you are seeing the first state as listen, because earlier my router don't know what the virtual MAC address to use. Once my router knows, because this router will only allocate the virtual MAC address to itself, so he has changed its state from the disabled to listen, and after listen this router will change its state from the active AVG. Not AVG, this router has changed its state from the listen to the active, because now this router is in the active state for forwarder number 1. Now see why you are not seeing the init state over here. See, when you will see the init state, as I said you, there is some issue with my interface. Let's say my interface is down or something. See, if my interface was down, so this router will not become the active AVG only, because this router will stuck in the init state for AVG role. Over here, this router then will stuck in the init state only for the AVG role. But this router has moved from the init state to the further state. That means there is no issue with my interface. Everything is fine. So that's why this router, you are not seeing the state of init over here, because now there is no issue with my interface. That's why this router has moved from init to listen, then from listen to speak, then from speak to finally active, because there was no issue with the interface. That's why this router has moved its all the state. He was going from one state to another. So over here, that's the reason you are not seeing the keyword, you are not seeing the state of init. Why? Because this router knows that there is no issue with my interface, and also there is no issue with the parameters of my AVF. So this router has moved directly his state from disabled to listen. And then finally this router knows that I am the only active AVF for the first forwarder. So this router has changed its state from the listen to active. Okay, so now we will see the output of R2. There will be some big output as compared to R1. Glbp debug Glbp events. We'll go on R2 and I will enable glbp 1 IP 10.0.0.10. Just wait now for some couple of seconds. Okay, now we'll stop the debug. So first we will see the information of AVG. We will focus only on number 1. What is this 1? This is my group ID which I have configured. So earlier my router was in the disabled state for the AVG, and once my router know what the virtual IP he should use, so he has changed his state from disabled to init, and there was no issue with my interface. So this router has moved its state from the init to listen, and then finally in the listen state this router was sending the hello messages. And now this router has identified that he will become the standby AVG, so he has moved its state from listen to speak. And from speak, finally this router went to the standby state. See over here where you will see where is the information. From speak, this router will go in the standby state, but I guess I have disabled debug, so you are not seeing over here. But this router will go from the let's speak state to the standby state. You have seen earlier also, we are just seeing the information of AVG. Earlier also you have seen that this router will go from this peak state to the standby state. Why? Because this router has identified that he will become the standby AVG, but I have disabled the debug, so I'm not able to see that information. So just forgot it because we have already seen it earlier. Now we will focus on the AVF. See, first my router was in the disabled state for AVG, and then when he knows what virtual IP he should use, so he has changed its state from the disabled state to init state. See, just understand this debug, just understand the output. Now, when this router has identified that what the virtual IP he should use for AVG, so he has moved from the disabled state to the init state. And this router at the same time has received a hello message from R1. So this router knows that there is one router which is the active router. Okay. And he is not receiving any of the hello message from the other router, so that this router knows now that I will become the standby AVG because there is already one active AVG. Also in this hello message, R1 is sharing the information of the AVF that I am the AVF for the first forwarder. See, I will show you one thing over here. Till here, from here, till here, the information is of AVG. But from here till here, the information is of AVF. This is one message. This is the message of AVG and this is the message of AVF. But both these messages are clubbed in a single message. So R1 is sending a single message, and in this single message, he is sharing the information of AVG and is also sharing the information of AVF. So till here, the information is of AVG, and from here, the information will start of the AVF. We will see this hello message when we will discuss about the message. I will show you this message in the Wireshark. But for now, as I'm just telling you that still here the information is of AVG, and from here the information is of AVF. So now see, my R2 was in the init state for the AVG, and this R2 has received a hello message from R1. He knows that who is the active router, it is 10.1. Okay, and this router has also received the information of the AVF for the first forwarder. So see, for the first forwarder, this router was in the disabled state for forwarder number 1. See, now we will focus on 1.1. This router was in the disabled state for the forwarder number 1. But just give me 1 second. The battery is low. Okay. So see, for the first forwarder, this router, that is R2, was in the disabled state. But now this router knows that what the virtual MAC address of the first forwarder. See, in that hello message only, R1 is saying that what is the virtual MAC address. This virtual MAC address is ending with 01. So my router knows that what the virtual MAC address he should use. What the virtual MAC address is of forwarder number 1. Not he should use, what the virtual MAC address is of forwarder number 1. So this router has changed its state from the disabled state to init state. See, over here this router did not go directly from the disabled state to the listen state. Why? Because till now my routers don't know that is there any issue with my interface, because still for the AVG this router is stuck in the init state only. See, everything is happening in a nanosecond. If you will see, the timings are all same. If you will see, the timings are all the same. It's just a difference in some millisecond, nanosecond, you can say. So everything is happening at the same time. You are seeing so much output, but all the output is happening at the same time. So these routers till now didn't verify that is there any issue with my interface or not, because that's why this router was in the listen state. So now for the AVF also you are seeing the state as the init state, because this router now don't know, this router is not confirmed now that is there any issue with my interface or not. So this router was stuck in the init state. Now see what will happen. After that, this is the information of the AVG. Now my this router knows that there is no issue with my interface. So this router has changed its state from the init state to the listen state for the AVG. This is the information of the AVG. So at the same time, for the first forwarder also, this router has changed the state from the init state to the listen state, because now this router knows that there is no issue with my interface, and also there is no issue with the parameters of AVF also. So this router has easily moved its state from the init state to the listen state. See, this is happening at the same time only, 22, 56, 54, 22, 56, 54. Now, after that, see, this was the information of the first forwarder. Now this router has came in the listen state for AVG. Now see over here, I said you that what will happen in the listen state for the AVG. This router will send the hello message, and also this router will listen for the hello message from the active AVG as well as from the standby AVG. And in the beginning only, I have said you that one more thing will happen in this state that I will discuss later. See, now it's the time. Now what will happen? Where is the output? Now see, this router has came in the listen state. This router has came in the listen state. Now what R2 will do? R2 will say to AVG that please give me a MAC address. I am the AVF, so please give the MAC address. So in the listen state only, the other router will request for the virtual MAC address from the AVG, that please give me the virtual MAC address. I need to become the AVF. So see over here, you are seeing a request message is going from R2, and it is for the out direction. That R2 is sending the message, and this message is for VF, that is virtual forwarder. This message is not for AVG, this message is for the VF. This R2 is saying that what is the MAC address should I use. So over here in the MAC address field, he is giving the MAC address 000, that means null. He is requesting to R1 that what is the MAC address should I use. So in the MAC address field, he is setting the MAC address as 0000. And why you are seeing 0 over here? Because this router is saying, R2 router is saying that what will be the virtual forwarder I am. Either I am the virtual forwarder number 1, or virtual forwarder number 2, or virtual forwarder number 3, or virtual forwarder number 4. So that's why you are seeing VF0. That means this router is saying what kind of virtual forwarder I am now. And in this listen state only, R2 is also sending a normal hello message for the act AVG role. And what is the state? The state is listen. Now see, this R2 has received a reply message. He has sent a request message and he has received a reply message. The reply message is of inbound. So R1 is replying to R2. He is saying you are virtual forwarder number 2, and this is your MAC address you should use. So now see, R1 has replied to R1 that R1 has replied to R2 that you are virtual forwarder number 2, and this is the MAC address you will use. So see, now this is the information for the virtual forwarder number 2. Earlier it was in the disabled state, but once he knows that what the virtual MAC address he should use, so he has moved its state from disabled to listen. This time you are not seeing in it over here. Why? Because there is no issue with my interface. If there was issue with my interface, so earlier only over here I was stuck in the init state, but earlier I have moved my state from init to listen. That means there is no issue with my interface. So this router for the second forwarder has moved its state from the disabled to listen, and then finally this router knows that I am the active AVF for forwarder number 2. So this router has changed its state from listen to active for the forwarder number 2. And between these, they are just sending the hello message and they are just receiving the hello message. So these are the information you are seeing on R2. See, it's little bit complicated. It's not little bit complicated. It's little bit tricky. if you will see the output 2 to 3 times, so it will be then very easy to understand, because lot of things are going at the same time. Now see, I will also show you the output of R3. Now what I will do, I will increase the priority on R2 so that this router should become the standby AVG only. Otherwise R3 will become priority 105. Now see, the information of R3 will be more complicated as compared to R1 and R2 now. Debug Glbp packets, debug Glbp events, interface fast Ethernet 0/0, Glbp1 IP 10.10. Now just wait for a couple of seconds. Now I'll stop the debug. Now see, we will first see quickly the information of AVG. We'll just focus the number 1. Earlier it was in the disabled state. Now then he R3 knows what the virtual IP he should use, so he has moved its state from the disabled state to init state. And after that, once this router, it is R3 has identified that there is no issue with my interface, so R3 has changed its state from the init state to listen state, and R3 knows now he cannot become the active AVG, nor he cannot become the standby AVG, because there is already active AVG and standby AVG present. So this router is stuck in the listen state only, because now he cannot become active nor standby. So now you are not seeing the state as speak, you are not seeing the state as standby, you are not seeing the state as active over here. See, if I scroll down also, you will not see this state of speak, standby or active. Okay, this is, if you are seeing this active, this is the information of the AVF, not the information of AVG. So now we have seen the information of AVG. Now we will see the information of AVF. See, earlier it was in the disable. My router was in the disabled state for AVG, and once my router knows that what the IP address he should use, so he has changed the state from disabled to init. See, at the same time only this router has received a hello message. This router has received a hello message, and this hello message he is receiving from R2. How I identify that this message is of R2? See, over here, what is the priority you are seeing? The priority is 105, and this is the standby. And who is the standby? It is R2. That means this information is of R2. So till here, the information is of the hello message is of AVG, and from here the hello message is of AVF. See, VF2, that means the information is of forwarder number 2. And what is the virtual MAC address? The virtual MAC address is ending with 02. So see, for 1.2, because now I receive a hello message of R2, that means I receive a hello message of forwarder number 2. So now R3 is showing the state for forwarder number 2. That's why you are seeing 1.2. See, earlier it was in a disabled state. Now when he knows that what virtual MAC address is there for forwarder number 2, so he has changed his state from disabled to init. Why? Because still my router is stuck in the init state, because my router now still don't know that my interface is proper or not, because still my router has not confirmed that there is some issue or there is no kind of issue till now. So this router is stuck in the init state only. See, everything is happening at the same time. Everything is happening at the same time only. So this router has stuck in the init state for forwarder number 2. No, for over here, this router was stuck in the init state for forwarder number 2. Now see, after 1 second, only 1 or 2 seconds. Okay, where is my debug? If you will see, after 1 2 second only, this router has received a hello message. This router has received a hello message. And now this time who is sending the hello message? The hello message is sent by R1, because it is sent by the active router. So R1 is sending the hello message. So this is the hello message of AVG till here, and from here the hello message is of AVF, that is forwarder number 1. You can see, and what is the MAC address, it is 01. So now you are seeing the information of the AVF for the first forwarder, because now I have received a hello message for forwarder number 1. So earlier I was in the disabled state for forwarder number 1, but once I have identified that what is the virtual MAC address, so I have changed my state from the disabled state to init state. Still I am in the init state. I cannot go in the listen state because still I have not identified that there is some issue with my interface or not. That's why I am still stuck in the init state for AVG. Okay. Now see. Once this router has identified that there is no issue with my interface is up. So this router has changed its state from init to listen for the AVG. See, we are seeing only one. That means this information is of AVG. So the moment this router has identified that there is no issue with my interface, so for forwarder number 1 as well as for forwarder number 2, which was stuck in the init state, he has changed the state from init to listen. See, everything is happening at the same time. It's just some nanosecond, millisecond difference. So everything is happening at the same time. You are seeing such a long output, but everything is happening at the same time. So for forwarder number 1 and for forwarder number 2, this router has changed its state from init to listen. And also for the AVG, this router has changed its state from init to listen. Now see, in the listen state, what R3 is doing? R3 is sending a request message to whom to the Active Avg, that I want to be a part of the virtual forward, I want to be a part of AVF, but what virtual MAC address should I use? Please tell me. So he has said 000 in the virtual MAC address, and what kind of AVF I am. So over here he don't know what kind of AVS he is, so he has set to 0. And also he is sending the hello message. See, now the Active Avg, that is R1, has response to this request message. He has replied. He is saying that you are virtual forwarder number 3. So you are seeing the number 3 over here, VF3. That means you are virtual forwarder number 3, and this is the virtual MAC address you will use. So see, now this information is of forwarder number 3. Earlier it was in the disabled state. Now once my router has identified that what virtual MAC address I am using for forwarder number 3, so he has changed its state from disabled to listen. This time this router is not going in the init state. Why? Because already my router has identified over here that there is no issue with my interface. So that's the reason this router has changed its state directly from the listen state, directly from the disabled state to the listen state. And once this router has confirmed that he is the active router for forwarder number 3, so finally this router has changed its state from listen to active. And finally this router is the active router for forwarder number 3. So see, this is how you need to read the output of Glbp. It's little bit tricky, but don't worry, if you will try 2 to 3 times, so it will be very easy, because everything is clearly shown in the debug output. That's why I have enabled debug for events as well as debug for the packets, so that you can see the debug as well as the packets also. See, I have shown you. Now I'm not showing you the information now on R4. The same information you will see on R4 only, but over here one more AVF will be added. That is forwarder number 4. It's everything the same. So for AVF there are 4 states, as I said you. The first is disabled. I don't know what the virtual MAC address should I use. Then the init, that means there is interface is down, or there is some issue with my parameters. I don't know the complete information of AVF. Then also I will be stuck in the init state. Then finally the listen state, that means this router is listening from the hello message of AVF from the other AVF, that if in the future that AVF goes down, so I will take the responsibility of that AVF if possible. And finally the last state is the active state, that means this router is ready to forward my traffic. So now you have seen what are the differences, what are the different states in AVG, as well as you have seen what are the different states in AVF. There are 6 states in AVG and there are 4 states in AVF. And now you have seen what are the difference between all these 6 states and you have also seen what are the difference between all these four states. So that's it for now. In this video, you have seen the complete states of the complete states of GLBP for both the AVG as well as AVF. Now, in the next video, we will continue with the GLBP. I guess 2 to 3 parts more will be coming for GLBP to complete the entire GLBP topic. So, in the next video, we will continue again with the practical of GLBP. Okay, so till then, thank you guys.